pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Anthony.
Barry, you're muted. He's making gestures. There you go.
Sorry, it wouldn't let me unmute. I'm here, obviously.
Castellucci. Here. Frick.
Here.
Harris.
Dominic?
Yeah, Dominic's here.
Here. I thought she said here. I'm sorry.
Morris. Here. Ronnie.
Here.
Sar.
Here.
Walker. Wallace.
Here.
President Pedro.
Here.
Former president.
Introduction and a second to dispense with the reading of the minutes of July 7th, 14th, and 19th meetings and place them on file. I'll introduce
I'll second.
Ryan and Art. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Committee reports and posts to the city website. Can I have an introduction and second to place committee reports on file? Ryan and Art, once again. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. We have two communications. We'll read. May I have a motion and a second to receive the communications and place them on file? Ryan and Art. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? The motion carries. Okay, Shaheen, the first resolution. These are the first four from last week, and as promised, we have a heavy resolution agenda for tonight.
Shaheen,
So I hope that
sorry, Councilmember Anthony said he can't unmute himself.
We fixed that.
Without further interruption, first resolution, please, Shane. Oh, we got a roll call vote, please. This is Commissioner Deeds.
Councilmember Anthony.
Aye, sorry. Hey, Michael, it's still not letting me unmute.
Yeah, it's weird. We just toggled it back. So.
Okay. All right. Aye.
Castellucci. Aye. Frick.
Aye.
Moranti.
Aye.
Morris. Aye. Ronnie.
Aye.
Sar.
Aye.
Walker. Wallace.
Aye.
President Pedro.
Aye.
Carried.
The next resolution is accepting a $1,000 donation from John and Edward Costic to the fire department. A roll call vote, please, Tracy.
Councilmember Anthony.
Aye.
Castellucci. Aye. Frick.
Aye.
Moranti.
Aye.
Morris. Aye. Ronnie.
Aye.
Sar.
Aye.
Walker. Wallace.
Aye.
President Pedro.
Aye.
Carried.
The next resolution is accepting senior center donations. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Anthony.
Aye.
Castellucci. Aye. Frick.
Aye.
Moranti.
Aye.
Morris. Aye. Ronnie.
Aye.
Sar.
Aye.
Walker. Wallace.
Aye.
President Pedro.
Aye.
Carried.
And the last bill resolution supports the New York State Climate Action Council scoping plan. Roll call vote, please. Chris.
Councilmember Anthony.
Aye.
Castellucci. Aye. Frick.
Aye.
Moranti.
Aye.
Morris. Aye. Ronnie.
Aye.
Sar.
Aye.
Walker. Wallace.
Aye.
Trustee Pietro.
Aye.
Carried.
Now, before we go into the new ones, Rob Perry is here to finish the presentation he did not complete last week. It shouldn't take too long, right, Rob? You're muted.
Yep, here I am, sorry. All right, sharing screen. Yeah, just a couple minutes here. I've got through most of it. I apologize, my battery died last week. So anyway, shared streets, back again by popular demand. So we can't, just wanted to call out our neighbors in Greenport that give us the assistance so that we can do it pretty quickly. There they are helping us load them and unload and transport for us. South Third Street, that final top coat was placed a couple of weeks ago. So now that project's officially closed at that section. And we did get help from the towns of Greenport and Claverick with hauling material. So again, we want to express our gratitude to them. And that project is now complete. Not really appropriate now, but there was people were concerned that there were no large garbage bags. The reality is we ordered them back in April. They usually take 4 to 6 weeks, but COVID, supply chain, everything else. But we did receive them last week and the machine is stocked now. Promenade Hill, I mentioned about we are starting to get railings. We only have a couple sets of them. There's a significant quantity, both sides of the ramps that are needed and for the steps. So we are starting to see them trickle in, but they're literally trickling. So no idea of when we'll have a completion date to open, but that's really the last of our punch list items. The cemetery, this is an abandoned access way to Newman Road. You can see the road's about 2 feet higher on the other side of the gate. So what we've done is demolished the existing dirt road, pulled out the curbing and poured a new curb, formed it out and poured a new curb and put blacktop. This will be a new veteran section because the veterans are getting near the capacity of the current section. And other than that, the Ferry Street Bridge, the big holdup there is still our utility agreements between National Grid and Amtrak with their easements. We do continue to put pressure on them, but they're just two big behemoths that are, trying to get them to cooperate, and it's difficult. It's not uncommon, but it is real. That's all I have.
Is it both sides of that agreement that's difficult, or just one? Is it Amtrak and what?
It's both sides because National Grid has to, they have to issue a check to go with it. So them, they're not used to writing checks. So they're happy to accept them, but so they actually have to pay the Amtrak for their easements. And so they're just two huge bureaucracies, and Amtrak has to review. It goes down to Philadelphia, where that division is reviewing similar rights of way for projects all over the United States. So it was our fear that this would be kind of the holdup, and it's proving to be true. So, but
Council members, any questions for Rob?
Do you have any expectation on the timelines for that?
I do not. We'd love to have that bid out in the street right now, but the reality is until the easements are complete, DOT will not sign off and allow us to put this out to bid. And since DOT is funding almost all of the project, we need their approval.
Well, thank you, Rob.
You're welcome.
Any other council members? Public? Ron Kopnicki.
Yes, I mean, this is a question I had intended to ask at a previous meeting, but I had a technical problem. Mr. Perry may be able to answer it. He may have information on it. I don't know. But it's about the progress of the plan to develop a parks department within the Department of Public Works. Has that been progressing?
I hope not. I think it's a silly idea. We have a parks department. It's just not funded appropriately. Let's try funding the actual parks department before we create another bureaucracy in the city and waste taxpayer money.
Okay, so I guess there has been no progress, and do other officials share your opinion or not?
Hey, budget season's around the corner.
Okay, I had a couple of subsidiary questions. I don't know if I should ask them now or save it for later in the meeting. They had to do with the funding of the Arbor Day celebration and planting by the Conservation Advisory Council. I was happy to see that a source for funding has been found for that. And I noted that last year the funding was accomplished through a GoFundMe campaign and also with a donation from the Hudson Parks Conservancy. And I was curious about the current status of the Hudson Parks Conservancy because I wasn't familiar with the organization.
That's a private group that has nothing to do per se with the city.
But as far as you know, are they still extant?
No idea.
Okay. And then the other question was, I know there was a Parks and Recreation committee at one point of the council, and I was wondering if the idea of perhaps reviving that would find any support on the council.
That was rolled into the youth committee.
Okay, so that then takes care of that.
Is that it?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Shane, we can get back to resolutions. So. Got it? It's not posting. Yep. This is funding and upgrade. There we go. This is a resolution to fund an upgrade to Verizon compatible modems and acquired software at the long-term parking lot. Can I have an introduction in a second, please? Oh, Vicky, introduction, a second, please. What happened to the dream team?
I'll second.
All right. Any questions?
I was just wondering, when are we gonna, there's a lot of meters that they're not working. And we kind of need to address this. We're cutting on revenue and from what I hear is a combination of a few people being involved, a few departments like code officer and the police department, but we need to have a better organization so we can just get back into receiving what we should. So is there anything the common council can do on this?
If you want to research what it would take to get it where you think, and then we can present it to both the departments, but
Yeah, I have no
we
problem
can't
with
just
that.
tell them,
Yeah.
go do this, But that'd be great. I'd love to see a research on even moving to a kiosk.
Well, that is ideal.
Right, that's the idea. I have no idea how much it costs or how to do it or.
Ryan, I think you were starting that with the tax committee.
Well, it's within the parking center. They're looking at all of those elements for us.
But in the meantime, that can take some time, just saying.
No,
That's moving.
Yeah, like we've already done like a first initial review of public input sessions, so like I expect something to be on our desks no later than November.
Okay, so we can wait until then, then hopefully.
And
we'll on that.
I think the only thing that bothers me in this is that this is $3,700 for a temporary fix versus a $8,000 sort of like blanket investment to get kiosks in, but we need to have it working, otherwise we lose out on the revenue, so.
And the money we lose, it's more than 3,700.
This resolution is for 3,700 roughly
Yeah.
for the modems and whatnot.
Okay.
But spending this we'd make it back in the revenue versus,
Right.
I mean,
we're not gonna.
versus giving away free parking if you go down to the train station.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, a roll call vote, please, Tracy.
Councilmember Anthony.
Aye.
Gasparuti. Aye. Brett.
Aye.
Moranti.
Aye.
Morris. Aye. Roney.
Aye.
Sauer.
Aye.
Walker. Wallace.
Aye.
President Pietro.
Aye.
Carried.
The next resolution authorized the mayor to execute a memorandum of understanding between the United States Coast Guard Sector New York and the Fire Department for search and rescue communications coordination and response. This is an MOU that is related to, if they get,
If they,
excuse me, if they get the rescue boat.
Yeah.
That we've already approved the grant for. I mean, we've approved their application for the grant and our commitment to have it. So can I have an introduction? And a second. Thank you, gentlemen. Any other questions or comments?
I was just wondering that it said at some point, it says the USCG discourages the use of cellular phones. Why is that?
it's not as secure, so like Sprint even offers it. Do you remember Nextel? Like way back in the day? It's a much more secure signal than just trying to rely on your forward or your LTE that we have right now. So they're hoping to not use that, instead have like a better, more qualified radio communication that doesn't fail at times.
Okay. Thank you, Ryan.
Roll call vote.
Councilmember Anthony.
Aye.
Escaludi.
Aye.
Frick.
Aye.
Moranti.
Aye.
Morris.
Aye.
Roney.
Aye.
Sauer.
Aye.
Walker. Wallace.
Aye.
President Pietro.
Aye.
Carried.
The next resolution authorizes the loan from the general fund to the capital fund for the Washington Street main replacement. This is a
Necessary.
necessary and it'll be paid back. It's a loan.
Good.
Can I have an introduction, please? And a second. You get that?
That's me, Tracy.
Yes.
It's Ryan and Arthur.
Thank you.
A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Anthony.
Aye.
Escaludi.
Aye.
Frick.
Aye.
Moranti.
Aye.
Morris.
Aye.
Roney.
Aye.
Sauer.
Aye.
Walker. Wallace.
Aye.
President Pietro.
Aye.
Carried.
The next resolution authorizes a budget amendment for replacement vehicle for code enforcement. Can I have an introduction and a second, please? Ryan and Arthur. Questions? As you know, the code enforcement is in desperate need of a new vehicle. We do not have to put this out to
Forbid.
to get bids because we participate in a state program that pre sort of selects everything, so. And it's the cheapest. Did somebody say something?
So the limit on the cost?
It's in there, it's $33,000.
And
It's
then.
an actual, but we know the actual vehicle.
What is the vehicle?
I'm sorry, what?
What is the vehicle?
It's a Jeep.
That's a good question.
It doesn't say.
It's a Jeep Cherokee. So I looked a little bit into it and it's 25% less of the market value.
Yeah.
And it's also, I mean, used cars because of COVID, they're too expensive now.
Decent deal.
So
yeah.
it's good. as
So
long
what
as
is,
we
what is
keep
the
it for
vehicle?
many years.
Jeep
It's a
Cherokee.
Oh,
Yeah.
so this is not really a replacement in that they don't have it.
Well, they
Well,
do,
no, they
they
do.
have a
It's really not like-
2006.
They do, but it is borderline for Flintstone.
I think I know it well.
Okay, a roll call vote, please, Tracy.
Councilmember Anthony.
Aye.
Escaludi.
Aye.
Frick.
Aye.
Moranti.
Aye.
Morris.
Aye.
Roney.
Aye.
Sauer.
Aye.
Walker. Wallace.
Aye.
President Pietro.
Aye.
Carried.
The next resolution authorizes the mayor to execute a contract for indigenous programming consultant services. For the budget transfer, can I have an introduction, second first, please? Oh, please. Ronnie and Art. I'll ask Michael to describe this.
Sure, yeah, so this is rising out of our collaboration with the Forge Project back in May, where we celebrated or recognized Missing and Murdered Indigenous Peoples Day. And we found that that was really successful, and we wanted to continue creating programming around Indigenous issues and history and the present of Indigenous peoples in this area. So we went ahead and looked into potentially securing a consultant to help the mayor's office with creating that programming and doing additional research and writing around those issues. And we were very lucky to have Heather Royal, who's living right here in Hudson. She's originally She comes to us from Wisconsin, where she was the former director of education. She was formerly she used to work for the Stockbridge Muncie community in their Arts and Education Center. And then she was formerly at the Forge Project as their director of education and their fellowship program. And she's a historian and public scholar who conducts research on a lot of topics related to American history and the legacies of colonization and indigeneity. So we did ask around and did get ask for another quote from another consultant, but unfortunately she declined it. Actually ended up recommending us to have her as well for this. So her proposal is attached there, detailing the scope of work. Most of the programming would be centered around Indigenous Peoples Day, which is also known as Columbus Day in October, and then Native American Heritage Month, which is the month of November. So it is timely. And then working on public engagement and research around renaming our waterfront park to honor its Indigenous history, as well as working on land acknowledgement for the city to have and publish and incorporate into our unfortunately, Heather is not able to join us for this meeting. She's currently in Montana and can't join due to spotty internet service. But if you have any questions about this proposal, feel free to ask.
Questions from council?
Was Heather who presented
Yes.
back there? Okay.
Correct.
Sorry, what was the question?
If Heather was who presented this back
Okay.
several, she
So
was.
when I looked up her website, she's still listed as Wisconsin, but she's actually in Hudson.
She lives in Hudson now. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. She moved to Taconic, I think 2 years ago, and then just Hudson very recently.
Other questions?
and so this is for development of programming. This is not funding of the programming.
She herself will be doing a lot of the lectures and talks as a historian herself. But the hope is that we'll be able to work with Forge Project, who will sponsor the other events and program, be able to work with us on that.
Anyone else?
Dominic.
Tom, I have my hand up.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Don. Go ahead.
So Michael, I understand that this is somewhat timely, but there's no guarantee that this is going to be done in that time frame. So what other funding streams, because I know there's a lot of funding out there, you know, grant-wise, for state ed and everything for projects like this. So what other funding streams were accessed and also, was there a CFA? I mean, was there a RFP out for this?
No, there was nothing related to the CFA, as far as I'm aware, around this particular subject. We have not, this is very new, very early for us to seek other funding related to this programming. For this year, we will try and keep it small and simple, but I think in the future we can approach other organizations for funding to expand this idea.
And is this an actual consulting firm that has some other projects out there?
She's an independent consultant.
Okay. I mean, I didn't really get a chance because there's a lot of bullet points there. Like it said something about, what I don't know what the process would be, like renaming Henry Hudson, Park and things like that. So, I mean, there's some questions on this that I would love to, ask. Is she on the call by any chance?
No, she's not, unfortunately. She's in Montana.
Right. So, I mean, for me, since, I love the idea, but I think we should be looking at other funding sources than to take $7,000 out of the city fund to give to some, something that, we don't know, some of the backgrounds and everything in terms of other projects and see what other grants are out there, in terms of, I knew, there's some out there, and I think even Turning Stone has some grants for projects like this to shoot. So I would like to see at least some evidence of some exhausted grants, for this, and so a little bit more knowledge at this point for my comfortability.
Sure, I definitely understand that, Dominic. I will say that it is very unlikely that that at least there are any federal or state grants regarding this particular subject around indigeneity. But I do think that there may possibly be some private organizations who would be interested in sponsoring programming like this.
So Tom, I don't know if this is the time to but I do like the idea. I want it to be successful, and I want it to be, I know there's a time frame, but there's always seems to be with late resolutions, a time frame. So I don't know what the process is.
It's been posted.
Well, no, I get it was posted, but I'm not going to get into that. So, but what's the process to just make a motion to table this so we get more information?
You can make a motion.
I'd like to make the motion to table it to get more information and hopefully seek other funding, sources, even if there's some matching funding there.
Okay, is there a second?
I'd like to ask, how, if we do table this, how will this affect the timeline of the program?
It will definitely make it harder to do any events for October if we
Can I-
until September.
Say something?
Yeah.
So first of all, I'd like to commend the mayor's office for doing this and looking into it. I love what you guys doing. What I would do is, I do have some questions about the naming the waterfront. I think it's
That's not happening there.
no, I know. I think it's a great idea, but because we haven't worked with Heather before, I would have it in two stages. In one where we hire Heather and does the November month, and then maybe, give her whatever 5,000, and then the remaining will be more into continuing. I'd like to see it in two stages personally, but it's if not, I'd like to have more information while she's through the process.
Is that
Yeah, so when I looked at her website, I looked at her background and so forth. And certainly has the background and so on. I think possibly what people are responding to here is, as Vicky's saying, first phase where we have some programming, we have some education and so on. But I think that putting in scope of work and research on renaming the waterfront is premature. That's
I thought it
probably,
said
in,
public spaces.
sorry?
I thought the scope said public spaces, like the general.
It's work, in bullet 3 is work
Oh, I
and
see,
research
yeah.
on renaming the waterfront park and municipal land acknowledgement for Hudson,
That's pretty much
gathering, collection, and so forth. And, I think that's probably what people are responding to here, is that we should initially have, public awareness, education and so forth. And then second step, think about looking at renaming and so forth, get public input on what the residents feel about that. I think that's probably what people are responding to.
Yes, I do think she's gonna probably do an amazing job, and it's a great idea what, the mayor's office are doing.
Duan wanted to have his hand up. Duan?
Yes, this is a good program, I understand. And do you have a time frame to submit this or no?
Sorry, a time frame for?
For this application, this resolution.
So Indigenous Peoples' Day is in October, and then Native American Heritage Month is in November. So those two elements are timely. We haven't discussed exactly a time frame around the renaming and of the waterfront park and land acknowledgement for Hudson. Of course, the renaming of the park would involve the public input. She would be helping us with gaining the public input and education around that idea. That's part of the purpose of this contract. So it's not an immediate thing at all. It would be an ongoing thing that could go for 6-7 months.
So I have a couple
All right.
of minor questions.
Go ahead, Margaret, please.
This is just picking in. The fees are for scope of work number 1, 4, and 5. The scope of work lists out 1, 2, and 3.
Oh, yeah, sorry, that should be listed 1, 2, 3.
Oh.
There were previous items.
Okay, yeah, no worries. I just want to be clear on that.
Okay, let's see, is there a second to Dominic's motion?
Could we have a motion to amend it?
We can do that too, but let's, Dominic's motion is on the table. Does anybody want to second Dominic's motion to table?
Can you
Another
restate?
thing, another thing I would like to, at least give us a chance to have Heather so we can ask questions. I thought, I was under the impression she was going to be at this meeting, so.
Okay,
but-
yeah, but we still have to decide whether someone wants to second your motion.
Arthur was asking what the motion is. The motion is to table this
Yeah, that's all
resolution.
it is.
Which means we won't have anything on
Right.
indigenous.
That's why I'm hesitant.
Yes, exactly.
What I'm wondering is, so I appreciate that the scope of work is broken down into 3 parts. And I'm wondering if the council could say, maybe let's focus on scope of work 1 and 2 here, where we're talking about, let's unlock her for the ability to come up with the programming. Let's see how this goes, and then, we'll revisit the other $3,500 and
And that's the
We can
amendment.
do that.
That's the amendment.
So we're gonna first, is anybody going to second Dominic's motion? Okay, that's it. Now we can have an amendment.
And the amendment I was going to propose was exactly what Art just said, which is we move forward on 1 and 2 because we do want to have something in place in October. And that way we won't be delaying that. And then we hold off, as you say, see how things go on the 3rd piece. Does that seem reasonable to you?
Sure, yeah.
Yes.
You got all that?
in the
Hold
interim.
on, we're trying to, we got to craft
That's
this
the
amendment.
amendment.
We can't just keep talking.
Yeah, that's the motion for that amendment.
And I second it.
And that's a second. Now you can talk about it.
Okay, so one thing that I would like to see, I suspect that the opportunity to secure funding from public or private sources before October, November is next to non-existent.
It'll be tricky, but it won't, not impossible with private sources.
Would it also behoove us perhaps to add into this whereas, or maybe just talking to you, Michael Hoffman, mayoral dude? Can we look into seeing if we can get additional funding? Because I think that Dominic does make a good point, that it does seem a little bit cart before the horse that we're using taxpayer stuff to fund this when we haven't explored other funding streams. So I'm wondering, while we're, approving basically the 3,500 to get this in motion, because I do think nobody has said this is a bad idea. We're all in agreement. I think that this is a fantastic program, a fantastic opportunity, and an amazing opportunity to leverage somebody within our own community to do this kind of work. But I do think there is some value in exploring some funding. And I think that exploring that funding is a good byproduct of splitting this resolution into 2 pieces. So the 3,500 today, which we can approve the amended resolution, which would also give the mayor's office some time to see if we could find some money to come up with the other 3,500.
Let me amend that, not officially, but you too can help find that funding. Just,
As an
just so you know, okay? Malachi,
Maybe this also would give her a chance to maybe you find some assistance with the.
Yep. Okay, so we have an amended resolution. Oh, sorry.
Just for clarity, I
Yes.
just want to be sure that the 5th paragraph, the whereas the office of the mayor, we're going to change that 7,000 to 3,500.
Correct.
Then the bottom where it's listed for the budget transfer, that's changing to 3,500.
Correct.
In the 4th whereas, are we striking any of that language, including research regarding renaming of public spaces to honor and so forth?
I don't think we need to because we're
No.
not paying for it.
Okay, so we're just changing the
Yeah.
dollar amounts.
Very simple.
Well, we
Okay,
are mentioning aforementioned services, right? But we're.
Yeah.
What are you asking there?
Well, I mean,
I think we are, since we are taking the 3rd scope of
you
work
want to figure it
out,
out?
I think we are taking
Okay.
research and.
Okay.
Taking research
Yeah,
regarding.
Yeah.
Because then-
we have things.
Right, okay, that's good. Okay, so, I guess we're ready to go. Roll call vote, please.
We had the amended motion was.
Oh, sorry,
made by
the amended motion, we have to
Councilmember-
vote on first.
But that, the introduction to that was Councilmember Morris. Did we have a second?
It was
Vicky.
me.
Vicky.
So let's vote on that, the amendment.
Okay,
Roll call vote, please, on the amendment.
Councilmember Anthony.
Aye.
Escaludi,
Aye.
Frick,
Aye.
Moranti,
I apologize. A lot of that was broken on my side.
I could try to sum it up, Dominic,
Changes
since I'm very close to the microphone. So
abstain.
Mark,
Just not,
can you
I
hear
don't
me?
know about the process.
We severed it in half, the funding. That's the amended version. Yes or no?
Okay. Okay, but that, you cut it in half, but wouldn't the other party have to agree, with the other points, because aren't the points still
Obviously, but
in the amendment?
that's not. That's
Okay.
strict. No, you're
Dominic,
not.
we're dropping the third scope of work, so for now, it's just the first and second, and we're pending the third.
Okay, so, gotcha, I heard that. Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Morris,
Aye.
Ronnie, Sauer,
Aye.
Walker, Wallace, Presley Pietro.
Aye. Now, that was just the amendment, correct?
Correct.
Now we have to vote on the amended version.
Correct.
Could I ask a technical question?
Sure.
I know it's a bit late in the game, the closed captioning, could we turn that on? I should have mentioned it at the beginning. We had it on at our last meeting.
Yeah, there's no closed caption.
We'll work on it.
They're working on it. Okay, go ahead, sorry.
Okay, so now we're voting on the amended resolution. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Anthony,
Aye.
Escaludi,
Aye.
Frick,
Aye.
Moranti,
Aye.
Morris,
Aye.
Ronnie,
Aye.
Sauer,
Aye.
Walker, Wallace, Presley Pietro.
Aye.
Carried.
The next resolution is another loan from the general fund to the capital fund for the testing feasibility study. This is, of course, will be reimbursed. Ryan, is the introduction a second? Vicky, thank you. Any questions? Excuse me. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Anthony,
Aye.
Escaludi,
Aye.
Frick,
Aye.
Moranti,
Aye.
Morris,
Aye.
Ronnie,
Aye.
Sauer,
Aye.
Walker, Wallace,
Aye.
Presley Pietro.
Excuse me, aye.
Carried.
Next resolution is a intra-departmental transfer of funds, DPW water department accounts. An introduction, please. By Ryan, a second. All right, then. Any questions? Roll call vote, please, Tracy.
Councilmember Anthony,
Aye.
Escaludi,
Aye.
Frick,
Aye.
Moranti,
Aye.
Morris,
Aye.
Ronnie,
Aye.
Sauer,
Aye.
Walker, Wallace,
Aye.
Presley Pietro.
Aye.
Carried.
The next resolution authorizes DPW to submit a grant application for more water infrastructure improvements. This to Robinson Street and Third Street Water Main Replacement Project. An introduction, please. Ryan, second. Arthur. Any questions?
Yeah, I'd like to hear a little bit more about exactly what this is and the cost to the city.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who can explain it.
Rob, are you here?
See ya.
Not here. Peter, would you like to speak to this, or can you speak to this?
Yes, I am not familiar with all the details. Rob would be the better person to address this. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Tom, I've got a little bit of information from Rob when it was initially sent over. Do you want me to at least provide the council with that?
Please, thank you.
All right. So my understanding is that, and I'm just trying to pull up Rob's most recent correspondence on this, is that they changed the deadline for when the grant application was due, which is why this needs to go before the council today. It is approximately a $400,000 cost to the city. That would be the city's share of the grant if it gets approved, which is why it would also have to be subject to a bond resolution that would come in later on. I know that Rob and Heather did speak about that. The program, according to Rob, the program was supposed to initially be due in November, so there was a little bit more time to line everything up. But for some reason, it appears that Rob wasn't sure why, it actually got expedited so that the application deadlines all got pushed up by at least 2 months. So everyone's trying to get now these basic resolutions, which are needed to be approved before the city can put in their grant application.
Thank you. I also note now that it's come back to me, there is most of what our contribution would be, which is around $400,000, there are a little bit more, is in the water fund. So we do have a fund that could cover this. Heather, I think, wants to be more cautious, and we would fund some of it from that and maybe bond the rest. But it's not as if this would create a huge burden.
So what's the funding source in the water fund?
The water fund.
The DRI?
No, the water fund is a separate dedicated fund. It's one of our other.
I don't feel really comfortable voting on this with like such sparse information and the person who wants it pushed through because of the application date isn't here to speak to it. I'm not comfortable with it.
Can we reach out to Rob now? Just. see if
But
we
this
can-
is just a grant, this is a submission of a grant
This
application.
is
We're
an
not-
application for the
it's
grant.
just
So
a-
if they get the grant, are we obligated to move forward or do
No.
we get to?
No,
No.
it's
We get to
just,
vote.
it's money that we make, yeah.
Yeah.
I
No,
think-
but we are committing 40%.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
but
if we get it, but then
if
if
we
we
get
don't
it,
commit
I mean, there is a
40%,
lot, we can
then it
always,
goes back to the state.
Assuming we get the grant, does it then come back to us to vote?
I think Margaret's right, actually, read number 3, we agree to provide the matching funds.
Yeah,
by this.
that's my concern.
And my
The money goes back to the state.
Crystal?
my understanding when speaking with Rob is that that commitment actually had to be in the resolution in order to apply for the grant, but I can reach out to Rob now and see if there's any way he can hop on to explain further.
To be honest, having somebody hop on and give an informal discussion of this without providing us with a little bit more detail, thought out, on, everything. I'd be happy to do a special meeting to talk about this next week. There's a crunch time on the application, but I'm not comfortable voting for something without enough information that obligates us to $400,000.
I mean, I understand your concern, but this is, one of the major things that the city is to provide for its citizens, which is safe drinking water, right? So this is not.
But how do we know that the drinking water is unsafe? What is the actual urgency of doing this? Where's the detail? What is the statement of the problem?
I mean, we can table it, but I don't know if that throws the deadline.
Not about just drinking water, it's about improving our whole water system, the infrastructure is crumbling.
Yes, I know that.
Yeah, so,
I do know that.
okay.
But I just don't like getting something thrown at us that has a pretty significant commitment.
Well, the other thing we can do is a
without any-
special meeting
yeah,
for this.
Without having been presented with some facts.
We could do this.
Crystal?
I'm sorry to interrupt. Yes, the only other information as I'm going through the kind of the email chain I have is that what is being proposed with this grant is to replace 125-plus-year-old cast iron water main with a new ductile main, and that the new mains are going to connect on North Street to a 10-inch water main on Columbia Street. So that's literally the only project details I have with respect to what's going to be proposed with the grant funds.
I think, I personally would like to have information presented in an organized fashion with some detail as to what the problem is, what the solution is, that this is a great thing for the city, that this is something we need to do or whatever. But I can't support this without more information. I'm happy to come back in a couple of days for a special meeting.
Did we get an introduction on this? Let's go ahead with a vote and see what happens. And then if you don't support it, we will consider other options. Okay,
Hey, wait, real quick, Tom, just to confirm, this is just voting on going forward with the grant, correct?
No, it does obligate us to paying for our match.
Okay, all right, sorry, I lost that in the discussion. Okay, thanks.
We do have the money in an account, in a fund dedicated to such issues.
Excuse me, before we go with the vote, can we see, can we table it? Can we vote for tabling it?
Well, you can make a motion to table.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay, let's vote on whether to table it. Tracy?
Councilmember Anthony,
All right,
Castellucci,
Aye.
Frick,
Aye.
Moranti,
No.
Morris,
Aye.
Ronnie,
No.
Star,
Aye.
I'm sorry,
It's aye.
thank you. Walker,
No.
Wallace.
No.
President Pietro.
No.
Deadlock.
Five.
Which means it fails. So we do vote on it. So let's vote.
Councilmember Anthony,
aye,
Castellucci,
No,
Frick,
No.
Moranti,
I'm sorry, just reiterate, what are we voting on again?
Now we're voting on to move forward with it since the vote to table it was defeated.
Right, so wait, I really apologize. We're voting on,
The actual resolution.
We're voting to approve the resolution as written.
gotcha, aye. Yes,
Morris,
No.
Ronnie,
Aye.
Star,
So what are you voting? I'm still not clear. Can you repeat again?
We're voting to move forward with the motion because the vote to table the motion has failed. So basically, we're saying
So
that,
that's the original resolution we are voting on, right?
yeah, we're voting as it stands on the screen right now, to move forward with the grant and have the city commit to that funding once if it is approved.
Aye.
Walker, Wallace,
Aye.
President Pietro.
Aye,
Carried.
thank you. The next resolution is just a matter of declaring this project as a type 2. It's just a formality required by seeker. Introduction, Ryan, a second?
I'll second.
Ryan. Roll call, unless there's a question, this is. Any questions? Roll call vote.
Councilmember Anthony,
aye,
Castellucci,
aye.
Frick,
Aye.
Moranti,
I'm sorry, what's the resolution again?
This is the a follow-up resolution to the grant proposal, declaring it as a type 2 project under seeker.
Okay, gotcha. I read that one. All right, thanks. Aye.
Morris,
Aye.
Rooney,
Aye.
Star,
Aye.
Walker,
Aye.
Wallace,
Aye.
President Pietro.
Aye.
Carried.
Excuse me. The next resolution authorizes the mayor to execute a master services agreement or agreements for professional engineering consultants for the planning board. The planning board has interviewed a number of potential consultants. They picked them, and this is just for us to authorize the mayor to sign the consultants they have picked. Does that make sense? An introduction, please. Ryan, a second. Ryan, questions? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Anthony.
Aye.
Jessica Ludi.
Aye.
Rick.
Aye.
Moranti.
Dominic?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can now.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry, I can't see anything with the screen because Hudson Tech, is it something about Hudson Tech's blocking my screen, but aye.
Morris,
Aye.
Rooney.
Aye.
Star,
Aye.
Walker,
Aye.
Wallace.
Aye.
President Pietro.
Aye.
Carried.
The next resolution supports the implementation of an outdoor fitness court to be located at Charles Williams Park, part of the 2022 National Fitness Campaign. If you saw the supporting document, this was a grant we received. Introduction? Okay. Second, Ryan. Any questions?
Yes, I have a question about the balance of the cost.
I'm sorry, I can't.
We received it, and we were awarded 30,000,
Yes,
and then the balance of the cost for the fitness sport and its shipment is 112,000.
the rest of it,
Where's that coming from?
Do you want me to?
from a grant.
All of it is covered by grant.
No.
No?
Sorry, I can't-
You're not gonna be smart
Let
with
me explain.
Sorry.
So the fitness court is a very expensive item, but it is a part of the plan with Spark of Hudson to rejuvenate Charles Williams Park. So the Spark of Hudson will be covering a large portion as part of our understanding of their budget for the project, be covering the majority of those costs, and then would be working with us to there's a sponsorship opportunity with this fitness court as part of the design can include sponsor placements on the fitness court itself. So it'll be fairly simple for us to be able to fundraise for the additional gap between the grant funding, what Spark is offering, and the remainder will be a portion that we fundraise from other local organizations. And
But unfortunately, none of that is in this resolution.
yes, this resolution isn't a commitment of any funds, but rather a resolution of support from the council to move forward with Bradley.
Okay, so, but there is none. But, you know, I've raised this before, Tom. This is like another instance of something coming before us with insufficient information for us to be able to make informed decisions. And I just thank you for giving us that clarification, Michael, but I just think we could do a better job of documenting where did this come from, you know, what are the issues, what are we voting on here, rather than just looking, oh yeah, that looks good, yeah. I mean, I just don't think that's responsible.
I apologize about that, but the timing of this grant award was very
You're at
close.
least here
so,
to
yeah.
explain it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I rest my case on that. No more
Malachi,
questions.
Malachi, did you still have something to say?
Yeah, my question is just,
A little louder, please,
so is it limited to just the Charles Williams Park?
They agreed to site it at that location. We could explore going back and placing it somewhere else, but because
No, not this particular, but in addition, not just here, but just two, I'm speaking.
Once more.
Future.
Yeah.
you want another one.
Yeah, yes.
For the purposes of this particular grant, it will be just for this location. We could go back to them in future years for another park if we really, for another fitness court if we really like this one.
Gotcha.
Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Anthony.
Aye.
Saludi,
Aye.
Fred,
Aye.
Moranti,
Aye.
Morris,
Aye.
Roney,
Aye.
Sauer,
Aye.
Walker,
Absolutely, aye.
Wallace,
Aye.
President Pietro,
Aye.
carried.
Our last resolution authorizes a reimbursement payment to the Lieutenant Miller for dental expense. I think Crystal knows about this, right, Crystal?
Yep, both myself and Michael do. Apparently, there was an issue where there was a clerical error, and Lieutenant Miller's children did not make it onto the insurance when they were supposed to be. So he had some out-of-pocket expenses for them that were supposed to be covered under the collective bargaining agreement, and this will cover those expenses.
Okay, an introduction, please. Ryan, second. Arthur. Any questions? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Anthony.
Aye.
Saludi,
Aye.
Fred,
Aye.
Moranti,
Aye.
Morris,
Aye.
Roney,
Aye.
Sauer,
Aye.
Walker,
Aye.
Wallace,
Aye.
President Pietro,
Aye.
carried.
Okay, we have bills. Shaheen, what's the bills for you? An introduction and a second, please. Ryan and Arthur. Questions?
Get business cards.
I'm sorry, what?
I didn't know we could get business cards. There was business cards.
Oh, yeah, that was, oh, you don't have this one? No.
What is the GALS LLC?
Gal was,
$1,000.
police uniforms.
Balls,
Really?
yeah, it used to be called Rosen's. It's on
Parking
Central
enforcement
Avenue.
uniforms. Parking enforcement uniforms. I can answer the questions. Thanks.
I got that historical.
Maybe we should maybe we should try to see if other council members or city officials want business cards, yeah, uniforms too, and then do a one order thing.
Save money.
Yeah. In the future.
Yeah. I thought you were not them, but.
I knew about it, but no one seemed to be interested, so I didn't want to incur costs.
Business cards.
Any more questions about bills?
No, sorry.
Roll call vote, please. Tracy.
Councilmember Anthony.
Aye.
Saludi,
Aye.
Fred,
Aye.
Moranti,
Hate to be about it again. What's this one again?
It's the bills for August.
Okay, yeah, aye, thank you.
Morris, Roney,
Aye.
Sauer,
Aye.
Walker,
Right.
Wallace,
Aye.
President Pietro,
Aye.
carried.
Okay, we have a bunch of local laws. I think all five were pushed forward from the legal committee, so they've been vetted there. We'll have Crystal explain them if you need an explanation. Let's begin with the first one. All we're doing is making a motion a second to put them on our desks. By the way, I see that it is written as Alderman's desks. Naughty.
Vote that one then.
Oh, really? Oh, okay, sorry. Oops, I only have it. So let's get a introduction and a second on the first one. Brian and Arthur. This is on your desk, so you can, we don't really have to discuss it right now. We can wait till we get closer to the vote. We're gonna sit a while. Unless there's questions right now. that are urgent. Oh, that's what we just had. Oh, yeah, right, sorry. Now, that was just presented, now I need a motion and a second to put it on your desk. That was an S added to desk. Sorry, Margaret and Ryan. The next local law, the same, I need an introduction and a second. Ryan and Arthur, now I need an introduction and a second to put it on your desk. Ryan and Margaret, oh no, Margaret, is that you? No? Ryan and Arthur. The next local law. I have an introduction and second, Ryan and Arthur. Now can I have an introduction and second to put it on your desk, Ryan and Arthur. The next local law is to set forth the duties of the legal advisor and retained counsel. Introduction second, Ryan and Arthur. Put it on your desk, Ryan and Arthur. And the fifth is extending the lodging tax. That should be for the others, Ryan and Arthur. Putting it on our desks, Ryan and Arthur. Well, that was pretty simple. Thank you, Crystal, for being on call. You were not needed.
I would like to commend Councilmember Morris for her work on that. That was all very clearly presented in the legal committee. And I think her work with Crystal was chef's kiss.
Okay, thank you. And that's that. New business or comment.
Yeah,
Council members first, sorry. Go ahead.
I have a comment, basically, just, this is more kind of going back to what Margaret was pointing at. I definitely agree with her sentiment that, especially important things where city money is going to be spent, I think it behooves whoever it is that is presenting said amendments that was gonna, in the future, cost the city significant amounts of money should be present, or at least prior to the meeting, present us with enough data. So that we don't have a situation where the council has to kind of fight against each other, right? I definitely, well, I like, thus far, we've been very united on this, most cases. And obviously, we've been amicable about disagreements, but I think this was a situation that could have been solved very easily by, sharing a little bit more information ahead of time, even if it was through email. If whoever is going to bring things up like that in the future, if they would make a little bit more of an effort to keep us, the voting members, informed.
Noted. Anyone else in the council? Okay, the mayor's here. We're supposed to have an executive session tonight, but
Yeah, can I make a statement before that executive session, Tom?
there's nobody here for it. Where are all the attorneys who are supposed to be here?
Well, the only attorney that should be here is Crystal, is the only one that needs to be here. I'll be addressing the council on the executive session. But can I make a statement before that? I can't hear you if that was a yes or not.
It was.
I just wanna thank Michael for his work on that grant for your exercise stuff on that for the Charles Williams Park. I also want to address the council because there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that we as the executive branch, never talk about. And that's the fact that we reach out to council members all the time through email, through every means of communication. And there's a lot of times that we never get responses. And half of you guys don't even show up to half of the community events where things are being presented or we're talking about. Half of you guys are not even in the country half the time. So if we want to talk about putting forth effort, like we've been more than forthcoming in reaching out to council members, and we're doing this work every day from 9 to 5, sometimes 9 to 10 at night. So, to see the unprofessionalism of some of the council members to address my administration like this, I'm a little disappointed seeing that I've worked and Michael's worked with many of you often. And there's still council members that we've reached out to on different things that haven't responded to us. So I would like to thank Michael for his work that he did by himself to get this grant that's going to help our community. And, you know, I would just say to him, you know, keep up the good work, because we don't have to be on these meetings. We're on these meetings because we enjoy the work that we do and we want to see things be successful. And, you know, if certain council members that do a lot, and there's certain council members that do nothing. So if the shoe fits, wear it. If not, then this message wasn't for you.
Okay, before we come back to the executive session, I'm gonna go with the two comments, two hands up. Then we'll go into the executive session, and then we'll come back and adjourn. So first up is Ron Kupnick.
I think that Ms. Cousin may have had her hand up first, so if she would like to go ahead, that's fine.
Okay, it came up to you first here, but. Okay, Claire?
Thank you. I'm actually really happy that the mayor said what he said, because my comment was very similar. Through working with Michael Hoffman, I think that he definitely does his due diligence and he cares about the community 110%. I was disappointed in some of the tone that he received and some of the interrogation tactics that it seemed like came forth, and that's a bit embarrassing and disappointing. I think that the council has, you know, better etiquette than that, and I think that the way that we get work done is by communicating with each other effectively on and off of these public forums. I think everybody is fully accessible, and I think those conversations need to happen offline a bit more.
Thank you, Supervisor Cousin. Ron, you're up.
Yes, just for the sake of clarification, what was the final vote on tabling the water main resolution?
Passed.
It did not get tabled.
No,
It wasn't tabled, the
tabled.
resolution passed.
No, I mean, there was a vote, there was a motion to table it, which was defeated, as I understood this. What
It
was?
was 5-5, so
It
it
was
passed.
Okay, so
5-5.
it was a tie. So then no votes opposed tabling it. So anyone who voted no was in opposition to tabling it. Okay.
5-5.
Okay, but the no votes were in opposition to tabling it because there seemed to be some confusion in the aftermath
No,
about,
there was no confusion. Everybody knew what they were voting for.
I thought Councilmember Morante asked about that.
We'll be clear about.
Okay, and second, I would like to reiterate my request both to the hosts of this meeting and all city meetings that live transcript and closed captioning be enabled.
Yes, thank you, Ron. Unfortunately, it seems that it's not something we can do while the meeting is happening. So we would have to close out the meeting and start it again to.
Well, I wouldn't ask you to do it in the middle of I wouldn't ask you to do it in the middle of the meeting. However, in some meetings, the menu at the bottom of the screen on Zoom gives you the option of asking the host in advance to enable it. And for tonight's meeting, for example, there's no such option. And I think there are many benefits to enabling it, so I think it should be enabled.
Shaheem and I just figured out what the issue was, and that it's now been enabled for future meetings, and we should not.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, so we're gonna go into an executive session. Can I have an introduction in a second? You want to executive session? Ryan and Arthur. We're gonna be discussing some litigation. So. Oh, sorry, all in favor, not by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Aye. Okay, Kristen stays.
Tom, you'll want to invite the mayor into executive session?
Oh, yes, do we have to vote on that?
Usually you would make it part of the motion to invite anyone outside the council in.
Right. We're gonna allow the mayor and the mayoral aide and our tech person to be present. All in favor, signify by saying aye. And Tracy, of course.
Not Tracy,
Okay, let's see, who's left here?
Peter's.
Peter, I'm sorry, I don't mean that like that, Peter. Let's see, Ron Kupnicki's still in there for some reason. Let's remove him. Is that it?
That's our people.
Okay. Mayor, you want to begin? And you guys, we have a summary.
Fine, because he can hear definitely through that door.
The press.
Yeah, it looks like you guys are still recording too.
Yes.